Well, hey there, friendships. Welcome back to Curtis's Corner. If you are new here, hi, I'm Curtis, this is my corner, and on today's Movie Monday, we are going to actually do a ranking video today because there's no films out that I am wanting to see. So we are just going to dive right in, get to some ranking of my favorite final girls. So if you are interested to see how I place these final girls in a lot of films that I have personally seen, then keep on watching. So like I said, we are going to be ranking the final girls, but before I jump into that, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for weekly videos. Hit that notification bell so you know when I post a video, because if you don't, how else are you going to know? You won't, so you should probably click on it. Also, in the description box below, I will be having a link to my Patreon where you are able to get early access to all of my videos and help influence the type of videos and content that you want to see on this channel. So if you want to be a part of the friend zone, hit that subscribe button, but also join my Patreon because I will be looking towards my Patreon over the YouTube comments, giving them priority first and foremost. So if you're interested in helping to influence my channel to benefit what you want to see, click that link and join my Patreon. Please take all of this entire list with a grain of salt. This is just my opinion. You don't have to agree. That is okay. That is what's wonderful about opinions. Everyone has their own. If you do agree with some of the choices, great. I'm so happy that you agree with me and where I've placed them. You're allowed to disagree respectfully. I am not going to have any angry comments saying, oh, you should have put this person here and this person here. This is my list. If you think that they belong in a different category, go create your own list. That's why you have these technologies and your own opinions, to create your own list. But this is mine, and this is what I'm sticking to.
Editing Curtis here. Just wanted to quickly point out that obviously this video is going to have some spoilers about a lot of films, so go into this knowing full well that there are spoilers ahead, and there's not much I can do about that. So you've been warned. If a film gets spoiled for you, that's the risk that you're taking, and these are the decisions that you must live with now.
But without further ado, let's jump in and get started with the rankings. So I've named all of my tiers based on quotes from some of my favorite horror films that have some of the most iconic final girls in them. The top tier is If It Bleeds, We Can Kill It. This is said by Naru from Prey, and this is where the end all to be all final girls are going to be located. Tier 2, I've labeled this one as I've Got to Finish This. This is from Halloween 2018, said by Laurie Strode. This is a tier where the final girls are really strong, dependable characters, but they just missed the mark slightly, like ever, like by a hair. In our third tier, we have It Wouldn't Work With Just You. This is said by Amber in Scream 5. This is a tier where either not much is happening with our final girl, or they need a lot of assistance from other characters in order to be the final girl. In our fourth tier, by none other than Ellen Ripley from Aliens, Stay Away From Her, You Bitch. This is the tier where they're not really final girls and you kind of want them to stay away from your films, but they're there and they are the final girls. Technically, you're just not overly happy with it. And our last tier is called Not In My Movie. This is one of the final lines said by Sidney Prescott herself in the original Scream, and these are just the final girls. I don't want to be final girls. I don't really justify them as being a final girl, but technically they are by final girl definition. Before we get started with the list, I do have some honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list. Whitney Miller from the remake of Friday the 13th that came out in 2009. The reason why she didn't make the list is because, did she actually survive? First of all, she spent the entire movie held captive, only to be rescued by someone who then dies a few moments later, and then by the end of the film, Jason grabs her again. So did she survive? No one's for sure. Clear Rivers from Final Destination. The ending of the first Final Destination is very ambiguous as well. She did technically survive because she was in Final Destination 2, where she did technically die. But had she have not reprised her role, would she have just been killed off screen like Devon Sawa's character was? Who's to say? The last honorable mention is Dana Polk from Cabin in the Woods. Dana, yes, technically survived to the end of the film, but that last second the giant hand comes out, she's instantly dead. She didn't stop the apocalypse from happening that Sigourney Weaver came and warned her about, and therefore ruined the world and also died at the end. So is she technically a final girl? No, but she is still classified somehow as one on millions of pages of research that I did. So that's why she's an honorable mention. First and foremost, we have Adelaide or Red from Us. This is tricky because is it Adelaide we're following or is it Red that we're following the entire film? No one's really sure. Even at the ending of the film, it's left rather ambiguous as well of who we are in fact following. They kind of nod at something else, but we're not sure. Which one is the evil one? Which one wins? Which one really loses? Yes, she does a lot of heavy lifting. Yes, she is a strong driving force throughout this film, but it is that unknown, that uncertainty of what the character is that we're following, that are they really the final girl or did we actually kill the final girl? Up next, we have Alice Hardy from Friday the 13th. I'm going to be putting her all the way down in the bottom tier. This is because she literally does nothing. She is absent for most of the film, and when she does come back, she is just kind of there, stumbling through, and managed to one-up Pamela Voorhees by chance. Now we have Alice Johnson in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. The reason why I'm placing her in this tier is because in Nightmare 4, she was quite literally less than a side character, and somehow they managed to shoehorn her to be the final girl out of nowhere. There was zero lead up to it. There was no connection to make her become this final girl. She was just, here you go. And then her character in the next one was just very over the top, annoying, and not well established as a good enough character to be a final girl. Alice from the Resident Evil franchise. Now, Alice is a made-up character for the films, but she is a badass character. You can talk about how bad these films are all you want. However, Alice as a character is phenomenal. She knows how to fight. Not only does she know how to fight, but she picks it up quickly, because that first film she forgets for about half of it, and then right halfway through she starts remembering everything. She knows how to fight. She's becoming a warrior about getting rid of anything and everyone, and really just accepting her role as being the final girl and being the savior at that point by the end of that first film, where she's gone off to literally take out an entire nation of all these monsters. Up next, we have Allison from the BLUMHOUSE Halloween trilogy. She is quite useless. Arguably, you could put her in a different area of this list, but I think she deserves to be above these people in this tier just because she does come up with some plans and she does give some good input and helps rally an entire team together. But that being said, she does not physically do a lot, if anything at all, to Michael himself. That is all Laurie, that is all Allison's mom, and that is everyone else around her. Beth from Evil Dead Rise. An unlikely character that you would have ever thought to be a final girl, and yet was. Crazy the development that this character has. She not only managed to out-survive, but also outsmart the Deadite energy, if we're still calling them Deadites, in this film, and she had to overcome that struggle of, this is my family, and now I have to kill them. She has to be a very strong mentally person in order to do that, and that's why I placed her in this top tier. Now we have Beverly Marsh in It and It Chapter 2. She's kind of a useless character, I'm not gonna lie. I like her, but she's not that great. She gets captured, she has a lot of hallucinations. Yeah, she survived her upbringing and her abuse, but the final girl aspect is Pennywise, and she doesn't really do too much with Pennywise aside from help the entire group take him down in the second film, in which case she didn't do it by herself, therefore that's why she's in this tier. Bryn from No One Will Save You. This is a newer release, and if you want to check out my review on it, you can go ahead and click up there. Bryn is a strong, compelling character. There's zero dialogue, but she is innovative. She is thinking of how to escape. She is thinking of how to beat, how to overthink these aliens as best as she possibly can without ever knowing any previous knowledge on what these are. So I think she does a really good job at doing the best that she can, and that's why I place her here. Casey from Split. Anya Taylor-Joy is a thrill to watch in everything that she is in this role. Also amazing to watch. However, her character of Casey doesn't do too much to go up against her captor. Instead, she talks to the other personalities in order to help her escape. Not much happens, but she manages to escape. There's no really big fight scenes that happen between her. It's just she talks her way out of being captured. Claire Redfield from the Resident Evil franchise. I love Claire, and I'm talking about like the Ali Larder Claire. I love Kaya Scodelario, but Claire is the one that we're looking at today. She is super agile, she knows how to fight, but she is only relegated to a side character. Yes, she does survive 3 films, but she's still only a side character to Alice, and she is there to help Alice along. Yes, she is still a final girl character because she is surviving, she is making it out at the end of the day, and yes, she is doing a lot of heavy lifting, but it is to benefit another character, and that's why I place her here. Up next, we have Coraline from Coraline. While being the main character of her film, she really didn't do too much. She explored, she was treated nicely by the other mother and other family, she had fun until the very end, and then she simply just ran away. Not exactly final girl material, but still was the final girl in her own film. Erin Harson from You're Next. Erin is an interesting and complex character because she portrays as one type of way and it flips basically right away. And because the flip happens so early and not later on, you see more of a potential for her and you can see exactly what's happened kind of in her background. So she's able to do the things that she does in order to survive this elaborate dinner that's happening. Cecilia from The Invisible Man. Now, a lot of this film, she is trying to get everyone on her side, make them believe her, and it's frustrating to see that no one is. And so for the most part of the film, she is very much afraid, running, trying to hide, trying to get away, until about, I would say, a little more than halfway through when she really just is like coming up with a plan, sticking it to the man, and going after him. That is when the true final girl moments shine, and I think had there have been more in the film, she would have been placed higher on this list, but because it showed just enough, she's at a good, decent standing point of being a final girl. Dina Johnson from the Fear Street trilogy. Now, she plays 3 different characters. However, the main character herself is Dina Johnson. She does have to put up through a lot of stuff. However, by the 3rd film, when you actually see her going up against the main antagonist over the trilogy, she does need the help of not 1, not 2, but 3 other people in order to win. That is probably the most that a final girl has ever needed assistance in order to beat someone. That's not even like a supernatural thing either. Crazy. Now we have Erin Hardesty. Now, while she does put up a really good job in fighting everyone who's coming after her, for most of the film, she is running and she is hiding. She does try and save some of her friends. Ultimately, she can't really do that, but she is trying. That is why, while yes, I'm still placing her in this category, she's not super low in this category, and she could, if I revisit this tier list, get bumped up to the category above. But otherwise, this is where I'm placing her right now. Jay Height from It Follows. This film, absolutely fantastic. Jay is not a great final girl because the entity is only coming after her, and that's it. Yeah, other people kind of get in the way and they get hurt, but she doesn't have anyone in almost competition to become the final girl with her or instead of her. She is fighting against no one while only also fighting against her own creature that's coming after her. And while yes, she is surviving, it's not an overly big battle that she is specifically having against this thing. Kyle from Child's Play 2 doesn't really believe Andy the entire time, and when she does believe him, Andy's helping. So really, Andy's basically the only person who constantly is defeating Chucky at this point in 2 films. Kyle was there as a support character to Andy, and Andy did most of the heavy lifting. Laurie Campbell from Freddy vs. Jason. She doesn't really do too much. She basically taunts both of them, and then the final kill doesn't even come from her, it comes from Jason. She doesn't do anything. She's just there, like a lot of the people on this list. Up next, we have Nancy Thompson from A Nightmare on Elm Street. You're probably shocked that I'm placing her here, but I'll tell you why. For the most part, she doesn't do too much. She is worried about her friends, she is coming up with a plan on her own, and she does take on Freddy by herself. However, there's a lot of reliance on her friends and family that she's looking for, ultimately not really receiving, but she is ultimately looking for that reliance and hope that she's going to get it from these people. On top of that, the ending, kind of ambiguous. Did she actually defeat Freddy, or did she not? Is it still in her head? Was it always all in her head? No one really knows for sure. Nancy Holbrook from A Nightmare on Elm Street remake from 2010. Now, Rooney Mara is a decent actress. I think she has what it takes to actually perform the Nancy character in this, but she doesn't. Her character is extremely loathsome. Is that a word? She's not a great character in this film at all. She's dry, dark. It's not a good, like, I get it's a remake, but she's not an enjoyable character that you really want to root for. You almost kind of want to see her get gotten by Freddy. So even by the end, she still isn't doing it by herself. Yeah, she's coming up with some ideas, and yeah, she's doing some battles, but it's almost half-assed, and she's getting a lot of help. Rebecca from Lights Out. Now, she does try to make a plan, and it, in theory, could have worked. It does fall through, doesn't end up working, and she does need other people's help in order to actually win and become the final girl, but she does put up a valiant effort throughout the film. Evelyn Abbott from the Quiet Place franchise. Evelyn is very family oriented. She is, in the first film, very heavily reliant on her family, but in the second film, she is very much more of a warrior trying to aid her family. She is out there protected. She is the mama bear, and that's where I'm taking both films into account, because while yes, she knows the knowledge, she knows what to do in the first film, her actually actively putting it into action by the second film is where you see the full character growth, and I think she does a wonderful job in showing this growth, and I think that's why I placed her here. Now we have Sam from It Lives Inside. Sam is a great final girl, but she definitely could have been improved on. She needs the assistance of a lot of people, and one of which is essentially on their deathbed. Sister Irene from The Nun and The Nun 2. I think Sister Irene as a character is a great character. I think Thaisa Farmiga is wonderful at portraying her. She does, however, need a lot of assistance from other people around her, be it finding the objects in order to help defeat Valak, or physically actually needing someone to help her defeat Valak. There's always someone else at play with her in order to be the final girl and to be able to beat the entity, but she still does do a lot of effort herself. Ginny Field from Friday the 13th Part 2. Really good character. Really good character. However, half of the film, she's gone. When she's in the film, I absolutely love the battle scene she's having with Jason, how she's trying to escape him, but at the end, even she doesn't really defeat him. It's someone else that helps her defeat him. So she's not doing it on her own. And that's what I really want to classify all of these characters as, is you really need to be doing most of the heavy lifting on your own in order to be in my top tier of final girl levels. Rose from Silent Hill. This is a little bit of a complex one because she goes through a lot, and half the film she is aided along by a police officer, but ultimately she is doing a lot of the heavy lifting herself. She is having to deal with a lot of trauma that's happening within this world of Silent Hill and all these weird, dark, demented creatures in order to save her daughter. And by the end, she's still alive, but she's still in the Silent Hill world. She never actually technically dies, but she's also not in the real world either. So it's kind of that, like, it's towing the line, but I feel like because she didn't technically die, this is where I'm placing her. Gale Weathers from Screams, all of them. Courtney Cox, amazing. Absolutely love her as Gale. Gale has some of the best chase scenes. She has some of the best interactions with every single character as well, but she basically never kills. I think she's only had one kill ever, and I think that might have been Nancy Loomis in Scream 2. Otherwise, she doesn't do much. She's running, screaming, hiding. She does help fight, but again, she's not ending the battle. She's assisting in the battle, but she's never ending the battle. Up next, we have Gemma from Megan. Now, I love this movie. Gemma as a character is kind of underdeveloped in a way, but her motivations are there, which is great. You need to have a good motivation as a final girl. However, again, she's not the one to do the final blow. It's a 10-year-old child that she needs the assistance of in order to win. So again, she created this robot, but needed someone else's help to defeat it. Final girl, yes. Material-wise, iffy. Jenny from Monster House. Great character, lots of brains behind the plan of what's going to be happening, but she doesn't really do too much for the actual house and defeating it. So that's why I put her here. Ivy Walker from The Village. This is a very underrated film, and I feel like it gets a lot of hate for no reason. I think it is one of M. Night Shyamalan's best films. However, the final girl being blind, not great. Yeah, it adds a bit more suspense because she has no idea what's coming after her. All she can rely on is her sense of sound, but all she does is run and all she does is hide. She can't do anything else. Everyone has to help her. Everyone has to guide her. She doesn't do anything for herself. Barely so by the end. So that is why she's in this tier. Karen Barkley from the original Child's Play. For most of the film, she thinks her child is lying. When she finally does believe him, she's spending the rest of the time convincing everyone else around her that her kid isn't lying and that the doll is actually alive. When the doll finally does come alive in front of her, she shrieks, drops lost it, it runs away, and even she doesn't have a final battle with it. It's Andy and the cops. That's it. She doesn't do anything aside from hold the door closed. Tree Gelbman from Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. Absolutely love these films. However, Tree, while yeah, she's doing a lot of the heavy lifting herself, she technically has infinite lives. Yeah, she starts feeling it the more that she keeps dying, but she does technically, in theory, have infinite lives until she figures out who her killer is and kills them. Not really Final Girl material because there's not much stakes happening. You're constantly going over and over and over the same thing over and over and over again. There's not any true stakes behind this, therefore, not really a Final Girl. Now we have Wendy Torrance from The Shining. Most of the film, she is running, crying, screaming, hiding. The most she really ever does is swing a bat at Jack and help her kid escape through the window so he doesn't get caught. That's it. Otherwise, it's Danny that does everything. Danny's the one. If Danny was a girl, Danny would be on this list. But he's not, so he isn't. Laurie Strode from Halloween 2007 and 2009. This is the Rob Zombie Halloween Laurie Strode. And while she's not my favorite Laurie adaptation, she goes through it emotionally, mentally, physically. This is probably the most brutal Laurie has ever had to face action-wise. And she really is showing how much strength she needs to have in order to become the one that's on top by the end of both films. Maddie from Hush. Now, while Ivy was blind, Maddie is deaf. She can see everything around her, but she cannot hear anything, and that I find makes it scary as well. Like, yes, not being able to see but being able to hear, absolutely terrifying. Being able to see but not hear, equally I think as terrifying. But this is just done so much better. It is a home invasion film, and Maddie really shows how much she can do by talking herself into situations and out of predicaments at the same time, going up one-on-one against the person who's coming after her. She has to be quick on her feet, coming up with ideas, and I think she does a valiant effort and is able to successfully solidify her placement in a final girl status. Michelle from 10 Cloverfield Lane. For most of the film, she is held captive. She's not allowed to go anywhere. She's not allowed to talk to anyone aside from whoever is in the bunker, including the captor himself. And in order to escape, she needs the help of someone else in order to get out. The plan kind of falls through. She still ends up making her escape and then discovers, oh, this is a big giant thing and a huge issue that now I need to deal with. She does. But in order to get to that point, she still needed the help and assistance of other people involved in this film. Up next, we have Needy Less Nikki. I love Jennifer's Body, but Needy's character is quite needy. Pun intended. She doesn't really do too much. She's always either afraid or concerned, and when she does something, it's only because her boyfriend is being attacked. That is the only time she actually steps in. Otherwise, she couldn't care less what is happening and what Jennifer is doing. Max Cartwright from The Final Girls. Now, this is the second time that Thaisa Farmiga is on this list. Now, you would think this would be a wonderful film in order to talk about the final girls of a horror franchise or film, and a great character that you think might be placed higher. But no, Max is actually going to be placed in this tier because she does need the help of a lot of friends around her, and not only that, in order to become the final girl, a big cataclysmic event needs to happen beforehand in order for her to become it, which then in turn is getting help and assistance from someone else in order to win by the end. And that's just not what I want to see in a final girl. Mia Allen from Evil Dead from 2013. Mia Allen is an absolutely wonderful character. She is 100% solidified as a final girl. However, for most of the film, she does start out as being a possessed character. She is not a final girl until the final act of the film, third act. And that's when she's really showing it. There's no build up to it. There is just the build up of her story arcs, but there's no real build up to her being the final girl. She gets saved from all the other characters. She is held captive from all the other characters. There's a lot of other factors in this that don't help her to be the final girl until she is really the only one who can fight for herself by the end of the film. And then that's how she becomes the final girl. Now we have Sydney Prescott from the Scream franchise. Sydney, of course, is my absolute number one. She is going top tier. She is going way up at the forefront of everybody. Sydney is just, she is a final girl. She survived every single film, never died once in any film iteration of this franchise. Yes, she was missing in part 6, but she was still canonically alive. Sydney is and will always be the best final girl because she shows that growth of going from being scared high schooler to I'm done with this and I'm done with you and now you're going to feel my wrath. She is over everything and everyone, and she is here for her family and her friends, and that is it. She is looking out for them, and she is showing that she basically has infinite plot armor without actually having plot armor. Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise. Ripley is Ripley. She is great. She is a strong force to be reckoned with. She can beat up an over 6 foot tall alien. And in the second one, she gets in a machine and challenges like a 12 foot tall queen of aliens. And then has to go up against some weird mutant human alien hybrid. She's been through the ringer. She knows what she's doing. She's seen a lot of death. She's come up with a lot of plans and ideas. And she's come up with a lot of different weaponry in order to defeat these aliens. And I've placed her here because where else would I place her? Nowhere. Tina Shepard from Friday the 13th, Part 7. The reason why I'm placing her here, great character. Absolutely love Tina's character in this film. I think it was one of the best characters in the entire franchise, aside from Ginny. However, she brings Jason back, then in order to kill him, has to bring her father back to drag him down. She can't do anything. Even with telekinetic powers, she still can't beat Jason, but she can bring her father back from the dead to drag him down. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and that's why she's here. Rachel from The Ring. Now, Rachel is a great character. Naomi Watts plays her perfectly. However, she's kind of dumb, okay? She endangers her child by leaving a tape willy-nilly out that you know can kill people, lets him watch it, and then forces him to pass it along in order to save him. So not only is that child endangerment, but it's teaching your child really bad lessons about it's okay to kill other people as long as it's saving you. I guess it's not really a bad lesson, but still. Up next, we have Laurie Strode from Halloween 1978, Halloween 2 from 81, H2O, the Jamie Lee Curtis Laurie Strode, okay? Let's just leave it at that. Iconic. She is the moment. She is icon. She is the screen queen. She is a badass grandma. We love Jamie Lee Curtis. We love this Laurie Strode. Even in Halloween Ends, not my favorite, but still, every fight sequence that she's in, absolutely wonderful. She not only shows the character development of becoming this hindered woman to have to build up this wall in order to be ready for when Michael comes back, but she also shows she's not putting up with anyone's anything and just looking out for her first and foremost and her family. Nika from Curse and Cult of Chucky. Now, I'm going to mainly focus on Curse because that's kind of where she solidified it for me, is she, being wheelchair bound, still stood up against all odds and managed to outbest Chucky as much as she could. Yeah, she ended up going to become in the insane asylum after, which is where the next film took place. However, she still bested him. She still survived. He never got her. She lived. She outsmarted the serial killer. Jade from Bride of Chucky. Kind of an annoying character, not gonna lie. Katherine Heigl, great actress, played this character well, but the character herself was annoying. And not only that, she did everything that she was told to do, aside from her dad. That's it. Otherwise, Chucky told her to do something, she did it. She didn't challenge him, she didn't fight him. It was just, go dig up my grave. Okay, get the medallion around my neck. Okay, like, that's it. So that's why she's here. Sam Carpenter from Scream 5 and 6. Now, while Sam was an alright character in 5, I really found she showed her charisma and ability to be the final girl in Scream 6. She upped the ante, she delivered, she went unhinged, and she showed that the daughter of a serial killer is no match for anyone who comes after her. Now we have Grace from Ready or Not. Grace is a fantastic final girl. I think she has a wonderful charisma about her as well. She's able to bring some intense fear along with some lightheartedness to cut that tension, so that way you're with her and understanding what she's going through, but also being relieved from all the tension so you're not always high on edge. I think she is great resourcefully, and I think action-wise she could be slightly better, but is able to do what she can with the tools given to her. Kinsey in Strangers Prey at Night. While she does do quite a lot in the film, she does need the help of her brother, and the ending of the film is left rather ambiguous to whether or not did she actually survive, or is the night actually over, and is she going to have to relive this again? Tess from Barbarian. I'm going to be putting her into this tier because for half, if not more, of the film, she's basically held captive. Not only is she living in the house with a completely random stranger, which, by the way, why would she even do that? That makes no sense. But she's absent from a good portion of the film after becoming captured from the creature that's in this film, to have it go and focus on a completely different character. And then when it does go back to focus on her again, she needs the help of another person to escape. The person is turning on her, and then in order to be the final girl, yeah, she does take out the final blow for the creature after the creature helped her survive. Not great. Naru from Prey. Naru is a warrior. Do I really need to explain anymore? She's a fighter. She's a warrior. She knows how to take down a type of creature. And the predator in this film does indeed become prey. Finally, our last final girl is Tara Carpenter from Scream 5 and 6. Tara is a great character. I think Jenna Ortega did a really good job portraying her. Tara does rely on her friend group though. She doesn't ever really finish the job of anyone aside from Amber, but that is her one and only time. Otherwise, she's hiding, she's injured, or she's relying on Sam, Chad, and Mindy. She's constantly being saved or rescued, helped along, and that's, again, not really what I want to see from a final girl. She does do a lot for everyone, and she does have a lot of character growth, and she does put up a lot for her own self. But ultimately, it is others that do help her along to get to the final girl point. So as you can see, this is my entire tier list. It is not the definition of what a tier list is. It is definitely not the one and only tier list of final girls. There are other people who have made these lists as well. This is just my personal opinion, and if you don't agree, that is okay. You are entitled to your opinion. This is mine, and this is how I like to rank these final girls, based on the critiques and criticisms that I gave them. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when I post a brand new video, because if you don't, how else are you gonna know? You won't, so do it. I will see everyone on the next video, but until then, bye friendships.